Would you please tell us about your impressions of the forum?
It's a very positive surprise because I had no idea how vibrant the startup community was in Armenia. My wrong assumption was perhaps a development center for the expats, and I discovered here there is so many homegrown originated in the country, and they're doing very, very clever stuff. So that has been a revelation, a very happy surprise, and just proving me wrong in a very positive way.
Any expectations from the forum?
The networking, so given that this market is so vibrant and given what I do, it has been very good networking for me to be able to collaborate with the university, to collaborate with a couple of startups, and at a purely scientific level and at the knowledge-based level. So in a mutual collaboration, working towards this dream of a global community of open content, just knowledge, open knowledge, nothing else, right? So, and that has been probably one of the best conferences I have gone to in terms of industry conferences. So I'm so glad to be here.
Since you're specialized in AI, so let me ask you, what do you think that the main trend in AI currently is globally, and what the main challenges are?
There are multiples of things, right? So I alluded to it before, that is different tiers of innovation with AI. There are just the bread and butter things that are there, and everybody's doing that. And then there are other trends that are emerging. So explainability is one of those trends. So to be able to explain a model, to be able to a black box model that we don't know what's happening inside of it, but we should be able to explain why it made a decision. So that is important. Or does it consistently make that decision? So that's one. I believe that a part of democratization of AI would be something called AutoML, which it does a lot of the work for you. So it can optimize things you do. It can structurally make a decision about how you build your model for what you do. And I think that would be another trend in terms of enabling companies that they don't have a research center in themselves to be able to actively develop AI algorithms. So that would be one. In the past few years, since 2018 or so, the graphs have become a major force, simply because most of the information that we have doesn't have this tabular format that the other types of basically machine learning algorithm work with. So that would be another trend. There are other trends that have been struggling to make headways for years now, and they have the promise, but they have technical difficulties, and I don't know how to, and I have no answer how to solve those. Things like reinforcement learning, that we haven't managed to create proper simulators for them for the real life to generate enough data for that. So that is to be seen, that whether it finally finds its place or not. To sum it up, I think the AutoML, the graphs and explainability should be the forefront of the trends of where AI is heading in the next few years.
What would your advice be to Armenian IT companies that are specializing in AI, or what do you think they should be doing?
Be brave, take risks, take calculated risks, embrace failure, because from every failure there is a learning that some success comes out of that. If you're scared of a failure, like controlled failure, right? Not catastrophic failure. If you're scared of failure, you never go anywhere.
And in terms of cooperations, you said that you would like to cooperate both, whether it is a scientific level or whether it is commercial level. What areas that would be?
So for me, what is important, there is a gap between what the students learn and what the industry adopts. And the students don't get to study those. So I very much is my mission to fill that gap between what's academically thought, basically in universities, and learned by students at the undergrad level and the master's level. We're not talking research students and the PhDs, and filling that gap to what is the frontier of science and making it practical and building a global community that participates in that, not just us. And that would be the area that I'm most interested in collaborating in Armenia, as well as any other country that is, especially with a brilliant startup scene as you see in here, to be able to fill that gap. To give you an example, from thousands of papers on graph alone, I think the industry adopted almost nothing. So all of that research happens in a bubble, but it doesn't translate into industrial revolutions. So I really would like to contribute to filling that gap. So solving the problem is too arrogant and no one person can do that. But if we collaborate as a global community, we should be able to reduce that gap into a much more manageable size.
And do you think this is a problem that is specific to, let's say, Armenia or one country, or it is?
No, it's global.
It's global.
It's global.
Who do you think should be taking the lead, whether it's private sector, the universities, the government, or they all?
A collaboration and a coalition of them all. It's not something that one can solve or not the other. So as a part of the industry, I'm basically reaching my hand to the academia. Let's work together and try to fill that gap. So, and hopefully the government support that, because a lot of universities are government-based universities. So at least in Canada, we don't have private universities. What we have is a combination of this collaborative work in order to fill that gap. Otherwise, the research would continue working its own bubble and the industry continue working in some very limited access to that knowledge.
Where do you think the AI is going to, what to expect in the foreseeable future, in the 5-10 years, what the trends would be?
I see AI without that science fiction form of that. So I see that like an industrial revolution, right? So the same way that industrial revolution was a revolution of muscle, how to outsource your muscle work into a machine that can do it more accurately, more repetitively, and that sort of thing. So, and this is giving some of that I call it jokingly the fat revolution, because the brain texture is made of fat. So it's instead of muscle revolution, it's a fat revolution, that we get some of those things automated. It is really all we are doing. So, and I think that trend would continue in a very pragmatic way of replacing some of the more repetitive tasks, some of the things that require a lot of data, some of those things that, the failure rate needs to be reduced and controlled, would continue working. And luckily with things like AI explainability, now we can actually transfer knowledge between machine and human in a way that we can explain a model when a model performs so well. The humans can learn, oh, look at these principles of decision making. These are good principles, so we can learn as humans to make better decisions. And that feeds back to the machine, so that would be a mutually reinforcing learning between humans and the machine. And I think that's the direction we're going to continue. And hopefully we remove most of the science fiction around it.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
For the interview.